Well, Dr. Deji Olale is standing by. He's a specialist registrar in intensive care medicine in the United Kingdom. Well, thank you for joining us on the program. I bet you're also keeping your eyes on the Indian variant and the situation there. But let me ask you, how close a threat to the UK and the European continent is this?
Thank you. Good afternoon, and I hope you're well back home in Nigeria. I do think that the greatest threat actually is whatever is going on in India. Is the possibility of that becoming another wave of disease in Europe and the United Kingdom as well. And underlying that is the concern that our existing efforts at vaccination may be insufficient if this Indian strain proves to be less responsive to the vaccine. However, there's no evidence that suggests that the vaccines will not protect against the Indian strain at the moment. Also, I think another concern is the possibility that the teeming population in India is the right mix, is the right incubator for this virus to develop and mutate into another super strain that may be challenging for us to maintain or to react to in the future. I think by and by those are the main threats that we can come up with regarding the situation in India.
You know, one of the major challenges India is facing is lack of oxygen, and that's for a country that is seen as a reference point in healthcare. I know the UK had gone through their peak moment as well, and you know, some way, just how did the UK handle this?
To begin with, I think the idea that India is a reference point to healthcare, yeah, probably from the Nigerian perspective. Otherwise, when you compare the infrastructure available in the UK to India, for instance, when you look at critical care beds per 100,000, the UK has about 7.5 for every 100,000 people. India has 2.3. So maybe they're not a reference point in that regard. The oxygen challenge, I think it's a question of how resilient your infrastructure is, your oxygen delivery infrastructure, that is locally. In April last year, the same thing happened in one of the hospitals in North London. And at that point, they literally said people should stop showing up at the A&E. So it could happen anywhere. But I think there's no doubt that India's infrastructure is slightly not this, well, maybe more than you will expect, is not the same as elsewhere. In particular, hospitals in the UK tend to have their own local oxygen plants that pipe oxygen to all the wards and where else is needed. However, you find that in India, they're having to actually use large cylinders to supply oxygen at the point of need directly to the patient in a lot of the hospitals we've seen, as reported in the media. So I think that's probably the main distinction in the approach to oxygen delivery to patients here.
So the EU has sued AstraZeneca, and I know that's something that concerns the UK largely, and this is over breach of COVID-19 vaccine supply. Now, the EU is saying that AstraZeneca may be showing what it calls preferential treatment to the UK. Do you see this causing a vaccine war of some sorts?
Well, I think there is definitely some politics going on behind all the vaccinations. Vaccination supplies from whether it's Pfizer or AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca, as we all know, the AstraZeneca vaccine was developed in partnership with the Oxford University. And I think, if you ask me, I think things have moved on a bit from that. I think the more relevant issue with the AstraZeneca vaccine is the fact that more people are seemingly refusing it elsewhere in the world, in particular. I do not see that it will be a major issue between the UK and Europe going forward. Other companies are coming in, Johnson & Johnson, for instance. Many other suppliers are coming up with new vaccines that if there will be any shortfalls, if there will be any major issues from AstraZeneca's UK and the rest of Europe's challenges, that those will mitigate against.
Well, Dr. Lale, as we wind down, you mentioned the challenge. There are those who have taken their first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and they're a bit hesitant to take the second shot. How is that being handled?
Well, there are public health campaigns that continue. I think we've not seen much of that problem, to be honest, in the UK. The advice is that for people 30 years or younger, it will be better if they were offered another vaccine if it's available. And I think that comes mainly from the balance of risk versus benefit, because we know that younger people are more likely to be asymptomatic and suffer less from the coronavirus disease itself. However, they are more likely to pass it on. So when you balance the risk of the clot, which if I could remind you, is we're talking about a handful of people out of every million,
right?
Every million people vaccinated. So to be honest, the risk is insignificant.
Right.
But they're acting more out of caution to advise that people about 30 years or younger should receive any other vaccine if available. So we don't really have that problem in the UK, thankfully.
Well, Dr. Olale, we'll have to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to speak to us. So let's let you go so you can head back to caring for your patients.
You're welcome.